Welcome to lesson 8.4, Cofunctions. I'm going to say this, it's an optional lesson because we got a little star right here, but I'll also say this is by far the easiest optional lesson that you will ever do. Straightforward, it's a gimme. It's a little layup right here for you, okay? And today we're learning about cofunctions, and cofunctions are just two functions that are the same but different. And I will explain what that means. Here's today's fact, and this is really what you're going to need to understand. The sine of an angle, so if I have the sine of an angle, it will be equal to the cosine of its complement. And a complement is the angle that makes it 90 degrees. I'm going to say this one more time. The sine of an angle is equal to the cosine of its complement. And so let's show you what that means. In this example right here, we have a triangle, right? If C is 90 degrees, all right, this is a 90-degree angle, and we know there's 180 degrees in a triangle, we know that A and B are going to be complementary because they're going to add up to 90. So I could say A plus B is going to equal 90 degrees, right? Because if these two equal 90 plus 90 here, that's 180. So these are complements. A and B are complements, all right, because they add up to 90. And what we're saying is that the sine of A should be equal to the cosine of B because they are complementary angles. And let's see if that's true. Well, the sine of A is going to be the opposite over the hypotenuse. All right? So the opposite is 12 and the hypotenuse is 13. So the sine of A is opposite over hypotenuse. Well, let's see the cosine of B now. The cosine of B is the adjacent, and let's see, the opposite of B is 5, so the adjacent is going to be 12, right? If the opposite of B is 5, the adjacent is 12. So the cosine of B is also 12 over 13. So therefore, and here's the key thing right here, if A and B are complementary angles, I know the sine of A is equal to the cosine of B. See what I did here? The sine of A is equal to the cosine of B if A and B are complementary. That might be a little confusing, but actually it's not. If A and B are complementary, sine of A is equal cosine B. And that's really today's lesson. All right? So let's apply this just to some very easy questions. If cosine of 72 equals the sine of x, find the number of degrees that measure of an acute angle x. All right? So what would make these two equal? So you might remember they have to be complementary. So A plus B have to equal 90. So I know that the cosine of A, all right, or the cosine of B is 72 degrees, okay? And that means A is equal to x. Well, x plus 72 has to equal 90. So I'm just going to subtract 72. And that gives me x is equal to 18 degrees. All right? So that's it. The cosine of 72 degrees is equal to the sine of 18 degrees. And let's check that on the calculator to see if that's even true. So I'm going to take the cosine of 72 and this should equal the sine of 18. Let's see if that's true. Okay? The cosine of 72 is equal to 0.309. The sine of 18 is equal. And you see how they're the same? All right. Let's try another one. Which value of x satisfies the equation the sine of 3x plus 5 is equal to the cosine of 4x plus 1? And this is how you do it. The sine of A, which is 3x plus 5, is going to be equal to the cosine of B, and B is 4x plus 1. And remember, the key fact here is that A plus B have to be complementary, meaning they add up to 90. So we're going to set up an equation, which is 3x plus 5 plus 4x plus 1 equals 90. Well, let's test out your algebra skills. You always combine like terms if they're on the same side. So we have 3x and 4x, which can be combined to make 7x. And we also have 5 and 1, which can be combined, which would equal 6. So 7x plus 6 is equal to 90. We're going to subtract 6 from both sides, and we get 7x is equal to 84. Divide both sides by 7. We get x is equal to 12. All right. Pretty cool, huh? So just a plus b always have to be equal to 90 for them to be equal. So we're just going to do the same thing now. So cofunctions, what you learned, I'm just going to restate this in a new way. All right? So check it out. Stay with me. We know that the sine of a is equal to the cosine of b if a plus b equals 90, right? You with me with that? The sine of a equals the cosine of b, we established that, and that's only if a plus b equals 90. Well, here's another way I can write this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract angle a from both sides, and I could rewrite this as angle b is equal to 90 minus angle a. All right? So what I can say is this. The sine of a is equal to the cosine of b, but instead of writing b, I'm going to substitute 90 minus a. All right? That's okay to say. The sine of a is equal to the cosine of 90 minus a. And the same is true for the verse. The cosine of a is equal to sine of 90 minus a. All right? You're going to have to trust me on this. It is absolutely true. So I'm going to show you. If angle A equals 47 degrees, what value of b would make the sine of A equal to the cosine of b? So I'm going to say the sine of 47 is equal to the cosine of, and I'm going to use this, 90 minus a, minus 47. So the sine of 47 is equal to the cosine of 90 minus 47 is 43. And so angle B has to be 43 degrees. All right. Once again, you might not believe me, so let's check it. We're going to see if the sine of 47 equals the cosine of 43. So the sine of 47, and let's see the cosine of 43. And look at that, they're exactly the same again. So that's just another way of knowing it. And I'm going to say this. Really what you just have to do is memorize this formula. The sine of A is equal to the cosine of 90 minus A. And the cosine of A is equal to the sine of 90 minus A. All right, these are two formulas you have to memorize. So if angle D is 13 degrees, what value of angle V would make the sine of D equal to the cosine of V? Well, let's try this again. The sine of 13 is equal to the cosine of 90 minus 13. All right, that means the sine of 13 is equal to cosine of 90 minus 13 is 77. So angle V would equal 77 degrees. And you could check that on the calculator if you don't believe me. So that's it for this lesson. All right, and I'm going to say the key points are this. You have to memorize these formulas. The sine of A is equal to the cosine of 90 minus A. And also, the sine of A is equal to the cosine of B if A and B are complementary. That's it. All right, guys, go have some dinner or lunch or just sit in classroom and finish your work. Peace.